Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And good morning to y'all. It's Thursday, which I'm happy about, since it means it's the beginning of my weekend. And it's November 6th. So I was doing a little more reading on the election results. And wow, I mean, it was even better than I knew. I mean, it was like a wipeout of any Republican running anywhere, even in really red parts of the country, including the state of Pennsylvania. Bucks County, for instance, is, that's red. That is a red area. It's full-on MAGA. And in Bucks County, the entire school board, which was made up of a bunch of book-censoring MAGA moms, was tossed out, replaced by all Democrats, and they also ousted their sheriff, who was palsy-walsy with Trump and ICE. So, geez, it's just wonderful. There is nothing for Republicans to celebrate and or find that they can hold up as any indication of anything other than a full-on repudiation of this administration, their governance, and the state of the nation under them. And, that's good to see. And we got to keep it up. Somebody pointed out that Heather Cox Richardson's summation, she quoted a guy named John Pfaff, who suggested that this was what happened on Tuesday. Every race. It's basically every race. Governors, mayors, long-held Republican dog catchers, school boards, water boards, flipped a dungeon master in a rural Iowa D&D club, state senators, state reps, a janitor in Duluth, state justices, 3 Republican Uber drivers, just everything. Yeah. Yep, sort of sums it up. I've been looking closer at Mamdani's win, and I've got my fingers crossed for him. I can't imagine what's going to be coming at him. Well, I can. The full force of the Republican Party, the White House, every oligarch and billionaire, and of course the city he will now run is the epicenter of billionaires, and man, they're going to be coming at him with everything. I saw that the Jewish vote was 1/3 of Jews in New York voted for him, which is to say, 2/3 voted against him. And I must say that if I had a vote, I think I would have given it to him, but there would have been some sense of caution in my vote for this reason. And I'm just putting this out there to be perfectly honest. His stand on Israel is, to me, frightening, because he says that he does not believe that Israel has a right to be a Jewish state. Now, I have to tell you, I mean, that's for the Jews, our love for that country is because it is the only place in the whole fucking world, that little sliver that we claim. And we claimed it with reason, historical reason, and with the blessings of the international community through the United Nations. We didn't steal it. It was acquired legally. And when I think, I mean, start making a list of all the countries you think of as Christian nations, or think of themselves as Christian nations. Of course, a whole lot of Americans would say we are one, but clearly majority Christian nations. And then think of all the ones that are Muslim nations. And there are Hindu nations. Nobody squawks and screams about that. But the Jews are not allowed their little sliver of desert. And human history shows that Jews have many enemies. That's becoming clear again. And if any people need a land of their own, a refuge perhaps, it is Jews. Now, what the hell has gone on with the politics of that Jewish nation of late should not be confused with the idea of the right of that nation to exist. Just saying. But other than that, I like this guy. He is, wow. He's got all the characteristics of a sort of master politician. Now, what he doesn't have is any experience with running anything, let alone the largest city in the country. And his lack of experience at being an executive gives me pause. And wow. And given what's coming at him, the concerted effort to take him down and also to use him to brand all Democrats as somehow, I don't know, Muslim commies, I mean, it will be unrelenting. I wish for him the strength to withstand it. There's he's got a lot of what the Jews call chutzpah. He does. He's unafraid, it seems to me, which is good. I mean, he started out his acceptance speech Tuesday night doing something that, sort of an inside joke, I suppose, for those who knew where it came from. But he started it by quoting favorably the guy he just beaten's father, Mario Cuomo. And that kind of thing it shows what I don't know. A lot of people would say that's not very, he beat the guy. He didn't have to, do that. But it shows what a sort of, he kicked him when he was down. And that shows it shows a willingness to, use his power. And given what our politics are now, it's probably good that he has these qualities. It is said that Donald Trump, behind closed doors, has expressed his admiration for Mamdani's political skills. God. But what he said that quoted Cuomo's dad was, he said, a great New Yorker once said that while you campaign in poetry, you govern in prose. Which has always been, it's just such a wonderful quote. Mario Cuomo was a poet in many ways. So, just the fact that he did that says something to me about him. And normally I would not, if he were somebody I was, not rooting for, I would take that as a negative. Not a very gentlemanly thing to do. But given the state of our politics, I guess it's emblematic of a kind of fighting spirit that is good. I hope he's up to it, man. Bob writes, it was great to see our side finally get a blue wave at the polls. But you're right about what you said yesterday, the fact that after our side wins, we then rest. I don't think we're going to do that this time. Bob goes on to say, if we learn something about this election as motivation for future elections, it's the sports cliche, a cliche commonly used in hockey. Let's not take our foot off the gas pedal. Indeed. Because if we take our foot off the gas, the risk of, as Bob says, is of losing our country's democracy for good. I think so too. I do think that the stakes are that high. Indeed. One of the other things I found interesting is the people who parse the numbers, the turnout, who voted where, what, yada, yada, yada. Again, all of those things point to really positive developments for our side, including, let me find them. Well, including the fact that the governors in New Jersey and Virginia, those two women who won, and won by much bigger margins than any polls had suggested they would, and won by virtue of a huge Democratic turnout, really beating the hell out of Republican turnout. But it doesn't explain the huge, their double-digit, especially in Virginia, win. What does explain it is that they peeled off Trump voters. And the numbers I'm seeing, as much as 7% of people who had voted for Trump the last time they went into a voting booth turned around and voted Democrat. 7%. Doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot. It's a lot. Because that means every one of those people is a vote the Democrats didn't have, adding to their total. And not only adding to their total, but taking a vote away from the Republicans. So, also Hispanic voters, mostly in New Jersey, who had, to me, inexplicably gone toward Trump in the last election, they, by huge numbers, either stayed home Tuesday or voted for the Democrats. So, I mean, all of that is such good news. Oh, wait, I forgot to share with you a few other. Mom Donnie is he's a good speaker. As well. I don't know if he actually the words read well. I don't know if he's got a great speech writer or whatever. But this is I found the quote that I was badly paraphrasing yesterday that I had heard that I thought was so wonderful, because he was talking to Trump and saying, you want to come after us? Essentially, he said, if you want to get to any of us, and he's talking to Trump, if you want to get to any of us, you're going to have to get through all of us. And that, yeah, I like that fight. I like that spunk. And then there was, this is another quote from his acceptance speech that I thought was good. He said that so many people really have no idea who I am, who we are, what we stand for. He was talking about all the disinformation that was put out there. And he said this: many have heard our message only through the prism of misinformation. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent to redefine reality and to convince our neighbors that this new age is something that should frighten them. The billionaire class has sought to convince those making $30 an hour that their enemies are those earning $20 an hour. They want the people to fight amongst themselves so that we remain distracted from the work of remaking a long broken system. And that is truth. That is exactly what they do. And that has been a tool used by the powerful since this country, before this country was even a country. It was used in early colonial times by white landowners to keep poor white laborers from seeing their own plight not unlike the black slaves they sometimes worked alongside of. And there were initially there was almost a sense of camaraderie with those that were just getting so little from those who had so much. And it was, I mean, they figured out, the rich white owners, we got to pit these two groups against each other. Or especially what we got to do is we got to peel away these white guys and make them feel superior to those black guys and see them as the threat to their status. Because the fact that these black guys are at the bottom keeps them from being at the bottom. And that kind of, sown division has been the recipe for keeping the little people down, pitting them against each other, as opposed to bringing them together to see who it is that is really keeping them down. They got to look up to see that. I don't know. And I love this line of Mom Donnie's. And while we cast our ballots alone, we chose hope together. Hope over tyranny. Hope over big money and small ideas. Hope over despair. We won because New Yorkers allowed themselves to hope that the impossible could be made possible. And we won because we insisted that no longer would politics be something that is done to us. Now it is something we do. Powerful stuff. And okay, so speaking, and I think we were talking about this a little bit yesterday, speaking of why Americans are so sour about the state of the nation. And I'm not getting into Trump and the, autocracy and all that. I'm getting into the death of the American dream, the reality that once, it was a given. The greatness of this country was that if you worked hard enough, the opportunity was there for you to better yourself and your position. And it is why, as most families look back, they see each generation rising up a bit, right? That is no longer happening. It is no longer happening because the whole thing got rigged, and a very few people at the top are taking so much more than their fair share and leaving the vast majority to scramble for the crumbs. And the dream is out of reach. So we were talking about home ownership, first-time home ownership. That was a big part and parcel of the American dream. And we had some numbers that were thrown out yesterday, and I'm not sure they're totally right, because I just came upon this today. And it says the path to home ownership continues to get longer In 1991, now to my mind, that ain't that long ago. What is that, 33 years ago? In 1991, the typical first-time home buyer in this country was 28 years old. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Do I know any 28-year-olds who own their own home? I'm trying to think. I don't think I do. And if some of them do, they do because they have rich parents who gave them the money or bought them the house. I don't know. But if you're a 28-year-old, how the hell do you have the money to buy a home? And they say that the reason is, the two big reasons are student debt. We tell them they had to go to college to get the kind of job that would allow them access to the dream, which turned out to be bullshit, by the way. And the only way they could go to college was to go into unbelievable debt. Now, that wasn't the case when I went to college. So when did we do that to our young people? When did we start taking the dream away from them? What is the university's culpability here? Okay, so 1991, typical first-time home buyer in this country was 28 years old. Wow. I got to tell you, did I own it? Yeah. I owned a home when I was my first home I was about 28, but that was in the 80s. 9 years later, that 28-year-old had to be 33 years old. 2 years after that, 2022, the median age had risen to 36. And then just 2 years later, 38. And it just keeps going up, further away, so that our young people cannot. And that's where you start creating personal wealth. You own a home, you put equity into it, all of that. But they say that the reasons behind this is that they can't save any money for a down payment, because everything they're making is going to repaying their student loans, to paying rising costs of utilities and groceries and all kinds of commodities, and most critically, outrageously high rents that they're paying. And then there's the lack of affordable housing, available housing. We got, big rich guys, hedge funds buying up affordable housing in cities all over the country. We've got to get a handle on these fucking rich assholes. They're destroying everything. Like the system wasn't rigged already for them? My God. And then this came out just today. Because the government shut down. Longest shutdown in our history. You see, the airlines, they're going to start cutting flights out of the largest airports. 40 of the largest airports in the country starting this week? That's going to cause unbelievable economic hardship, chaos, who the hell knows what. And I saw a list of the 40 airports, and guess what? Pittsburgh ain't one of them. That's how much of a little player we are when it comes to air traffic. Anyone who tries to get anywhere from here knows that. So at least, I guess, we aren't going to be one of the places where the flights will be canceled as much. Of course, they might be coming in here from a place that is canceled. So because of the, lost my train of thought. Because of the shutdown, we're not getting the numbers. Anyway, Trump didn't like the numbers. The jobs numbers, the this numbers, the that numbers. He didn't like them because they were clearly showing that not only wasn't he doing the stuff he promised and was elected to do, it was getting worse and worse and worse. Which, you know what? People don't need the numbers. They go to the grocery store. They know. They see it in their own lives. They don't need no stinking numbers. But here's some numbers. Layoffs. Layoffs last month, October, were up, sit down, were up 175% from a year ago. That's Trump's great economy. Layoffs. People are losing their jobs like never before. You know how they're losing their jobs? They're losing their jobs as if it were a recession. And they are saying that this does look like it recession level. U.S. employers have announced over 1 million layoffs so far this year. And that is on par with the kind of job cuts we saw when our economy tanked in 2008. Okay? Just trying to put it in perspective. And that was called the Great Recession. UPS laying tons off. Amazon, tons. Target, tons. $175% more than last year when Joe Biden was president. And here's another part. Companies usually avoid layoffs toward the end of the year. I mean, we're heading into the big, heading into the holidays. But they're facing so much uncertainty and pressures from tariffs and funding cuts and, technology. AI, and it is tech jobs that are just getting killed. So people in tech, the ones who listen to our advice, you go to college, you learn how to do computers, programming, stuff like that, you're set for life. You take out a bunch of, money, loans to pay for the education, you get out, you get a job, you get laid off a year or two later and replaced by a machine. I mean, at some point, if these kinds of numbers don't turn around, and I don't see how they're going to turn around with a lunatic who's in the White House and a total lack of a functional government and people having to deal with their hungry children, Trump can try as mightily as he might want to try to get people to look at war-ravaged Portland. But it ain't going to work. It is not going to work. We got to start killing fishermen off the coast of Venezuela. He's going to get us in a war in Venezuela? I mean, what the fuck? His own voters didn't vote for that. Paul writes, a friend that works at our airport said what you did you expect diverted flights from other airports to end up here for hours. Okay, so they'll get diverted. They meant to go to O'Hare and they'll end up here. Huh? What a mess. I have a friend who thinks he's flying to Honduras next week through Dallas. And I don't know. I feel for people who have to travel for business because, I mean, there's just nothing worse than being stuck in some goddamn airport. Nothing worse. Well, there is, but it's pretty awful. Okay, so what do I have here? Mord says you might be getting there. Oh, Mord, I don't know when you wrote that, so I'm not sure what you're talking. But Reagan is given credit through policy and legislation for the elimination of free college. He's given credit? Way to go, Ronnie. Incidentally, the incarceration rate of our population has skyrocketed. That is true, too. I mean, this country is in such awful shape because it is being run by these fucked up capitalists, these greedy sons of bitches. Everything's a zero-sum game to them, and they keep everything. They keep it all. And now, because of our Supreme Court, they're able to buy politicians openly. They own the parties. Politicians don't work for the people. They work for the people who give them money. And what does that do? That turns people off to the whole process. They abandon the process. But we see from the changes that were made Tuesday that is insane. You grab the process. You take it back. The people united can never be defeated. That's why the rich sons of bitches, the people in power, are always trying to divide us, and they've done a hell of a job. Divide us. Because they know it's true that the people united can never be defeated. Simple as that. Okay, what else I got here? Oh, I wanted to share something that one of you shared with me. I'll find it. Hang on. Kurt sent this to me. I think he suggested that he didn't have anything to do the other day. He said he was sitting there in his house, and he was thinking about what he said was the inherent dissonance of MAGA and the Christian right. The fact that so many in MAGA are, in-your-face Christians. Christians, by the way, that the guy who didn't intend to create a new religion, that'd be Jesus of Nazareth, that guy would not recognize these so-called followers. These people who have bastardized his teaching and beliefs. So anyway, Kirk came up with this. And what he's done is he's taken the seven. Well, here, I'll shut up. He says these are the 7 principles of MAGA, and they're biblical foundations. And the 7 principles, you will find out, are also the 7 deadly sins. Which reminds me, by the way, of Trump the other day musing about thinking he's not going to get into heaven. I thought that was one of the most bizarre things that ever came out of him. And God knows that's saying something. He said something like, I don't think. I wonder. I mean, he doesn't engage in soul searching. So what? I think I'm not maybe heaven bound, he said. Ha! You think? He even went on to say, I want to try and get to heaven. I'm hearing I'm not doing well. I am really at the bottom of the totem pole. What the hell? That is so bizarre. That Mr. Bluster, Mr. Never Apologize, Never Back Down, that he would have that moment of what? Weakness. Or I refuse to call it self-reflection. I don't think he's I don't think he's capable. But anyway, okay, so Donald, one of the reasons you're definitely not heaven bound, take it from me, is because of what Kurt is suggesting here with his 7 principles of your movement. The Make America Great Again movement. Here's number 1. America's the greatest nation on earth, and we deserve it. We don't need to associate ourselves with shithole countries or the people that come from them. Okay, that's the first principle of MAGA, and that is akin to the sin of pride. Misplaced pride. Okay, second principle. The poor have such easy lives. I wish I got free health care, free food, and free money the way they do. The whole system is unfair to people like me. And that, of course, is the sin of envy and extraordinary stupidity. It reminds me of one of the greatest quotes I ever saw, and I don't know who said it, but this is akin to it. A lot of Republicans and these MAGA people and a lot of people who end up not wanting to have government help anybody that needs help is because they actually think the problem is is the poor people have all the money. They think if you're relying on some pittance that the government sends you every month, that you're in hog heaven. What small-minded, black-hearted people. All right, principle 3. Illegals should be rounded up like animals and deported to foreign prisons. Drug traffickers deserve to die when we blow them out of the water, or alleged drug traffickers. These people broke the law, so we can do whatever we want to them. And Kurt says that is akin to the sin of wrath. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm tired. Why is it we have to send care packages to feed starving kids? Why is it always us that sends doctors on the good ship Hope to heal people? Why is it always our job to defend democracy? We've done enough to help the world. We deserve to sit back and put our feet up for a while and let the world fend for itself. Kurt suggests that's akin to sloth. Well, all of these have such a mean-spiritedness to them. Oh, man. Oh, here's a classic. Here's a classic. Here's the next one. I earned every penny I have through hard work. I should be able to keep it all for myself. Social Security is my retirement. I shouldn't have to share it with widows, orphans, and cripples. Wealth redistribution is just a fancy word for charity, and we need to stop wasting time and money trying to help those people, those lazy people that are working 4 jobs and getting no benefits. And that, of course, is the sin of greed. It's a fine bunch. Okay, here are the last 2. What have we left out? I'll tell you what we've left out. Lust and gluttony. And Kurt has said this of the MAGA principles. Any red-blooded American guy would jump at the chance to have sex with a porn star or rape a woman in a department store. Everybody has at least one good friend who's a pedophile, don't they? And gluttony. I don't have to listen to my doctor's diet and exercise bullshit anymore. I get Ozempic online. Okay, there you go. That's what Kurt did when he had nothing to do. Gigi writes, my red county, that's Washington County she's in, my red county, along with red Westmoreland County, voted overwhelmingly to retain the Democratic Supreme Court justices. Yes. In my township, a Democrat came very close to winning a council seat, which I guess is unheard of. I am sure, well, that puts to rest, that's my sense that no Republicans won. I'm sure the Republicans, Gigi writes, here are now terrified because they've always had a strong hold on the council and the school board here. And yeah, coming close to taking one of them out shows that another year of Trumpian policies could wipe them all. Wonderful. Well, maybe some of those scared Republicans will actually just, throw in the towel and vote them out. Vote the Republicans out. Why do you hang with people who are, ruining things? Barbara has sent something. This is by Dean Baker. I have harangued reporters for decades over their failure to express big numbers in a context that would make them meaningful. to their audiences. Yep, that's a definite problem. For example, when they report that we will spend roughly $100 billion this year on SNAP, relatively few people know that this is around 1.4% of total spending. They just hear a really big number. To most of them, the number would probably mean the same thing if it'd be 50 billion or 200 billion. And it's true. That's true for me. I hear 100 billion or 500 billion, and it doesn't mean anything to me. It's just it's just a lot of money. And this guy is arguing, and boy, it should be true. It would be a very simple matter for reporters to make a habit of including 4 or 5 words of context. You hear that, you economic reporters? 4 or 5 little words you could throw in there so that these big numbers you're forever throwing out there would have some meaning. This guy goes on to say, I considered it a big victory when I worked with several groups to persuade the New York Times public editor, Margaret Sullivan, to write a piece arguing exactly this point. It seemed like a huge victory, since if the New York Times made a practice of presenting big budget numbers in a context that made them meaningful, it's likely other publications would follow suit. This would have led to a far better informed electorate. You can see where this is going, right? Who would know that they did not have a high tax bill because of the 0.008% of the budget that went to public broadcasting. Unfortunately, though, despite this strong endorsement from the public editor at the New York Times, absolutely nothing changed. Not even at the New York Times. So even though I've never heard and literally cannot imagine an argument on the other side, it is still standard practice for reporters to write numbers in the millions, billions, or trillions that they know are meaningless to almost their entire audience. You know, I often, we're talking about like death tolls and stuff. That's another, like numbers. One life. Show me one life that was lost, one dead human being because of whatever, right? A war, what we did, this, that. That always has more impact than numbers. But one of the ways I thought that I used to say of getting your hand around big numbers, your head around them, is, let's say, there were 400,000 people killed in some war. How do you even take that in? Well, let's imagine Acrisure Stadium or PNC Park. Now, I don't know what the seating capacity is, but let's say 50,000. I know it's not right. 50,000. So at least you can get somewhere by imagining a full stadium. And every single one of those people wiped out. Bang, dead. And then you fill it up again. Every seat filled. And wipe them out again. At least that has some ability to create the horror of the magnitude of that much human death. But really, it's always one story. So this guy goes on to say that, if the number stuff was better communicated by journalists, Elon Musk might have had a little more trouble proudly shutting down like the AIDS program in Africa that was something so astonishing that George W. Bush did. Because by doing it, he was literally sentencing millions of people to death just so he could reduce our federal spending by 0.09%. He saved 9 cents of every $100 by literally killing millions of Africans. In the interest of putting numbers in context in terms of the current budget shutdown, we can think about how much money Donald Trump and his family have gained since he was elected compared to the cost of SNAP, which feeds, of course, hungry people. According to Forbes magazine, the Trump family has increased their wealth by roughly $5 billion since the election. By comparison, the average monthly SNAP benefit is a bit less than $190 a month. That's about $2,250 a year. They get $5 billion. The little guy gets $2,250 just so they can eat. So if we compare the Trump family's post-election windfall to the average SNAP benefit, it comes to more than 2 million SNAP person years. God. So we can see that while millions of people might be suffering from the loss of SNAP benefits due to the shutdown, well, at least Donald and his family are not hungry and are doing well. Wow. Okay. Eat the rich. Just saying. All right, guys, that's it for me this week. As far as I know, I'm going to be back on Monday. And it's going to be snowing. Damn it. Just saying. Damn it. Have a good weekend.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.